Welcome back, loves. Welcome back to Linda Love Talks Health Edition with Michelle Falzon, who is a positive psychology coach, cultural change specialist, leadership coach, positive organizational psychology, post-traumatic growth expert, which is perfect because I think I might have some PS. I think I have some of the traumatic issue there. She has a
Mhm.
master's in applied positive psychology and coaching in psychology. So, your what you've studied is different from what I've come across, but that way I'm so interested. What is a positive psychology coach?
Positive psychology, Linda, is a really beautiful space that dives into the science of human flourishing and happiness and how to live life well, essentially. And I embarked on my Masters of Applied Positive Psychology and Coaching Psychology back in 2020 with the University of East London. So I'm based in Melbourne, Australia, and I decided to take a step forward into my continued learning journey via correspondence as a distant student and learner with that university. And it was a remarkable experience, to say the least. Stressful, studying a master's, almost a double master's degree halfway across the world. But nevertheless, it was a profound experience that has led me to where I am today. And it's only very recent that the science of positive psychology and coaching psychology is now starting to come to the forefront of people's awareness.
How is this psychology different from other forms of psychology? Like, how is this
Well, essentially,
different from your regular person you'd reach out to, like
yeah.
in college or so forth?
Well, the thing is that clinical psychology focuses on what's not working well. It really mainly is directed towards the deficit of an individual or a situation. Positive psychology, on the opposite end of the spectrum, focuses on what's working well. And we look at a lot of strengths, we look at virtues, we look at different areas of science, as I said before, the science of happiness. And I personally am now incorporating existentialism into my practice and creating frameworks and just utilizing that design and creation to help substantiate not just my research, but also the other brilliant bodies of work that have been created um, over the years from many great people.
Definitely. What are the five key principles of positive psychology?
Well, the thing is that there are so many different avenues and areas of positive psychology, but for the most part, the most common is that work having been created from Martin Seligman, and that's the PERMA model.
Mhm.
And that looks at positive emotions, positive relationships, meaning. And so it incorporates very much a holistic sense of a human person, and is designed to really support that person step up into life, discover their full potential, and look at it from a bird's eye view. Perhaps that's a really good way of creating an analogy into this particular model that really is grounded and is quite a substantial foundation in this space of positive psychology. And over the years, it's also been extended, but it's utilized immensely through the education system here in Australia. I'm not quite sure what it's like over in America,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's something that really serves a wonderful starting point to then continue scaffolding one's knowledge and understanding in other differing areas.
How do you apply positive psychology for daily life? As an example, so if someone had depression, would they be able to would you be able to apply positive psychology for someone, let's say, that suffers from depression?
Absolutely. There are so many wonderful positive psychology interventions that are very much supported by numerous data and empirically validated surveys and other bodies of research as well. So, and it's not a one size fits all, Linda. Like at the end of the day, that's the beauty of these interventions. They can be molded and adapted to suit the needs, desires of a particular individual to help support them in their fears and their frustrations and to overcome certain challenges and adversities in their life. And I know it might sound really, really simple, but at the end of the day, there's so much beauty and strength in the simplicity of such things like gratitude,
Mm-hmm.
journaling, uh, engaging in a random act of kindness, learning how to savor the moment, being open to moments and experiencing a sense of awe. So, various meditation as well. Obviously, you can't leave that one off the list. So, there are so many different supporting bodies that can just help a person gently and gradually come out of the darkness in a really loving and nurturing way. And I'm not saying that I'm opposed to Western medicine, but the science clearly shows that the what's the word I'm looking for? The side effects,
Mm-hmm.
the side effects of antidepressants far outweighs any other positive outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a choice. It's a choice based on the individual and the severity of their clinically diagnosed existence or symptoms, whereby if you think you have the strength to be able to walk that dark night of the soul, to get through those dark days without any medication and intervention in that way, shape, or form, then by all means, there are definitely interventions that can support you that are gentle and without, they don't come with a side effect. But these are the sorts of conversations that you need to have with your general practitioner or your specialist and so on and so forth.
Absolutely. So you also are a cultural change specialist. Tell me about that. What is that exactly? You're the first one I've ever met.
Oh, really? So a
Yeah.
cultural change specialist really just comes into an organization or a particular environment and helps look at what's going on culturally. And I don't mean that
Yeah.
in terms of different cultures from people, but
Mhm.
the culture that is ingrained within that environment. We'll call that environment an organization or a business. And to identify without judgment what's not working well and
Mhm.
why, as opposed to what is working well and why. And so we start to create these strategic plans looking forward based on what are the needs and wants of the individuals, what are their fears and frustrations, and how do we move forward beyond the fears and frustrations in a very solution focused, strength based coaching approach to start creating new foundations. And it takes time,
Yeah.
Rome wasn't built in a day. But at
Mhm.
the end of the day, when we do look at a business or an organization without the or through a different lens of, bricks and mortar, it's the people that matter. It's the people that come to work and bring their energy and their knowledge and their wisdom and their intellect and their understanding and their years of life experience to create the culture
Mhm.
of that business. So
Yes.
instead of
Yeah.
focusing on KPIs and, books and the dollar sign and all of that sort of stuff, as important as it is, if you want significant change that is sustainable, long lasting, and positively impactful, then you need to focus your attention on the human. And that's where I come in and I work with the people, not the business, because the business or the organization doesn't exist if the people aren't there.
Right, absolutely. We need more of you over here in the United States, especially in the New York City area. I've definitely have as a consultant, I've been a consultant and walked into different atmospheres and environments and cultures. One of them that seems to be very popular, which is sad, is a bully culture in a lot
Mm.
of the Fortune 500 companies. And I say this with, because there's some truth to that. What festers a bully culture? Do you think it's just a lack of confidence that creates a bully culture?
Oh, it's such a sad reality, isn't it, Linda?
Hmm.
Like when
Yeah.
you really think about the enormity and then the detrimental impact that a bully can have on a people or even a group of people.
Hmm.
And so you're absolutely right. I think that, and this is just subjectively speaking, but I genuinely think that it is a lack of confidence. I think it is, for the most part, a lot of their upbringing. I think
Yeah.
bullies carry a lot of baggage and trauma
Hmm.
that has not been resolved. And so a person only knows what they know based on how they were raised and then through the life experiences that they exposed to as well.
Hmm.
But I also think that based on my research and work in existentialism and bringing that into the space of positive psychology, it also becomes quite apparent to me that a bully very much lacks a sense of self-awareness and a sense of connection to self, and therefore that disconnection to self
Hmm.
inevitably creates disconnection and dysfunction within the relationships with other people in their life. And subconsciously, I think they struggle to manage or to grasp, comprehend, acknowledge that this dysfunction or the disconnect is real. And therefore it's almost like they're always living in a state of fight or flight. And that stress response is just constant aggression, and it's an inability to self-regulate emotionally. And for some part, perhaps even a lack of knowing or an unwillingness to dive deep into the areas of trauma that
Mm.
are hurtful, you know,
Yeah.
and I genuinely try to find compassion for those who bully or hurt other people, and it's
Hmm.
not easy,
Hmm.
but I try to look beyond the action and look at the person as to why are they doing that? What is it that they're actually doing to somebody else to cause mental, emotional, perhaps even physical harm? Where
Right.
is that coming from? Because we're all born
Hmm.
with love. That is our organic, God-given, universal source. It's love.
Hmm.
But something happens after birth. And
Right.
and that something is what makes us all very much unique and individual.
Interesting. So you're also a post-traumatic growth expert, which I find that fascinating because I feel like I have some post-traumatic stress. So what is post-traumatic growth?
It's such a beautiful area of science to explore, and I've become extraordinarily passionate about this space because of my own experiences of trauma. And over the last 11 and a half years, upon reflection, and I do this because I have to live with my trauma for the rest of my life. So it is a constantly evolving journey and process of reflection that when you look back to who you were as a person when you faced your trauma, your adversity, or your challenge, whatever that may be, big, little, it doesn't matter. It can sometimes be individual and subjective, and sometimes it's collective trauma. But if you think about who you were as a person at the point of impact, for lack of a better term, to who
Hmm.
you are today, and the transition of becoming anti-fragile when we motion through the strategies and just the experiences
Hmm.
to come out the other side, not just resilient, but flourishing,
Hmm.
thriving. And the work that I'm doing with a colleague of mine in this space to explore how post-traumatic growth as an independent variable, along with positive organizational psychology, we've developed a framework that supports this beautiful visual so that people can start to understand that there are these areas of life that, when focused on with open intention, deepened curiosity, an expanded sense of awareness, we start to have these profound aha moments.
Mm-hmm.
And this all came to be when I originally opened up some research for the purpose of my thesis for my master's, and it looked at the impact self-efficacy and optimism have on post-traumatic growth. And it was very interesting, even though the data collection was quite small, it did evidently show that women are more inclined to experience growth post-adversity because they have higher levels of self-efficacy as opposed to men. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, it's because we as women are still more inclined, and we feel, I suppose, a sense of freedom to engage in social connection post-trauma to help us heal. So we're more inclined to talk,
Mm-hmm.
to connect to a best friend, to share our experiences in a support group, or just be, in good time, a little bit more open and transparent. And the data shows that, unfortunately, there is still a stigma attached to the male race, that they don't feel comfortable talking. And so there is this process of internalization and bottling in and suppressing. And the more they do that, the less inclined they are to grow post-trauma
Right.
and perhaps experience more mental health challenges, be that anxiety, depression,
Mm-hmm.
whatever else may occur from that suppression. And therefore they regress within themselves. And if done long enough, then the growth never occurs.
Wow.
And
So
then
people,
a
so people need to,
stagnancy.
so people need to talk.
Absolutely. Talking is powerful, man. Talking is,
Mm-hmm.
it's food for the soul. It is what allows us to take one step forward every single day, and it's a gift. And I
Mm-hmm.
know, even with my own trauma, one of the things that I suffered with uh, post my trauma was the fact that I stopped talking. I almost became a mute.
Mm-hmm.
And I often refer to it when I'm running workshops or I'm presenting at conferences and doing keynotes on this. It's almost like a lake, a beautiful lake that freezes over because of a huge snowstorm. And just because the surface turns to ice, it doesn't mean that the body of water underneath that ice has frozen either. And so
Mm-hmm.
there is still current. And that essentially was me. I still had my thinking going, but there was this disconnect between my brain and my mouth. It was like it was just frozen and nothing could come out. And and it was challenging. And so for me, even though I engaged in clinical therapy at the time, it didn't work. It wasn't working for me. And I gave it a good hard shot,
Mm-hmm.
but it just wasn't working. And so my therapy came from journaling, just being
Wow.
able to get my words out onto paper,
Mm-hmm.
to unblock the blockages and to defrost the metaphorical surface of ice. That allowed me to learn to speak again. And that's, that, going back to what we were talking about before with the interventions and how can it support somebody with depression. It's as simple as that, but as powerful as that as well. So yes, talking is, it's our Panadol for a headache. It's our deep heat for a sore, aching muscle, or whatever you want to kind of refer it or correlate it to in a tangible sense. But we need to get people talking, and we need to, as listeners in those spaces, make sure we move into it holding a container with no judgment,
Mm.
complete respect,
Right.
and the utmost love.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, it's huge.
And I think, what you do and what I do, just, having this podcast and people who might be listening to this episode especially, that's why I bring individuals and experts like yourself onto the show to talk about these type of subjects that are sometimes are not readily available to everyone. Not everyone knows about it, or some people may be, closed off to it for because of cultural reasons as well. And
Mm.
you're also a book author. So tell us about your book titled The Ultimate Wellness Organizer.
Yeah, so this was I guess, a little labor of love to kickstart my authorship journey,
Hmm.
because I am in the process now of writing my first book, so to speak, which is a bit of an autobiography and a memoir to my journey of growth.
Hmm.
But the ultimate wellness organizer is a 12-month organizer that is purposely designed to impact an individual in creating new habits. So it's supposed to take part of a bit of a journey towards recognizing there are parts of myself that don't work well. I don't like it, whether that be physical, mental, emotional. It's entirely up to the individual. But when you get to that point of recognition, acknowledgement, and acceptance, this organizer comes in as a 12-month support system. So people can use it, recognizing that there still are very much so many parts of them that do work well. So the organizer asks the person to focus on, what do you like about yourself? What is serving you well? What do you love,
Mm.
basically?
Hmm.
And by focusing on that, you strengthen your strengths even more. And by shining a spotlight on what is working well as opposed to what isn't, where usually that uh, is highlighted because of the negative bias that we sit in, we're suppressing it organically and focusing on how to become better again based on what we already love. So the organizer is very much heavily based on the science of positive psychology and strength-based coaching to support people transition into a higher version of themselves, essentially.
That sounds amazing. And I want to announce, Michelle doesn't know this already yet, but whoever is the first one to listen to this podcast, subscribe to my podcast, like, share, and you have to tag me. You get a free book of Michelle Falzon's book titled The Ultimate Wellness Organizer, because it's Linda Love Talks, and that's what I do. I give away free books.
And I'll even sign it. How's that?
That's awesome. What's even better, an autographed version of the book. So So, welcome to the authorship. This sounds amazing. I love your book. I'm getting myself a copy as well, not just for the audience, but I think I need to work on it as well. I'm a book author as well, but I think your book would help me so I could become a better author as well. And we're getting to the end of this podcast, and it's been so interesting talking to you. But what is your message for the audience?
Don't be afraid to live life. It's a gift, and in recognizing that it can be short, and there are so many people who have gone before us far too soon. Wake up every day recognizing that you have an opportunity to do something great. And great doesn't have to be finding a cure for cancer. Great could be just putting a smile on somebody's face today. So I want to challenge everybody from here on in who's listening to your podcast, Linda, to wake up every morning from here on end and just set the intention of knowing that today is going to be a great day. And as part of that great day, I'm going to contribute something great to it as well.
Absolutely. I love it. Thank you so much. Give me